So, folks, how many people under the age of 30 are living with their parents? How many people under the age of 40 are living with their parents? Let's find out. Hey folks, Prepper Princess. For more personal videos, please go over to my Patreon page. And for all your prepping needs, you can go ahead and go over to prepperprincess.com. So what we're gonna talk to you all about today is, with the economy being the way it is, how many adults are living with their parents? Well, adults under the age of 30, it is 52%. More than half of adults under the age of 30 live with their parents. And when it comes to people in their 40s, it is a third. Or sorry, age 40 or below, it is 1/3. So 1/3 of the adult population, age 40, lives with their parents, and half under the age of 30. That's a pretty high number. Now, I do believe we are in the process of a huge economic change. Okay, obviously we've got the economy issue, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about changes in culture and changes in lifestyle. You've all seen the tiny house movement. There's now mobile home movement. So what people are doing is they're looking for more affordable housing, but they're looking in the areas that typically don't have affordable housing. So instead of migrating to an area that is lesser known, that may have cheap houses, Winchester, Indiana, or, sorry, I just had a frog in my throat. Presque Isle, Maine. Wichita, Kansas. Oh man, it's really getting in there. I feel better now, almost better. Dayton, Ohio. So instead of moving to more areas that don't have a high population or a city nightlife or college kids coming to town, casinos, things along those natures, people are trying to stay in the large cities, and they're making up for that monetary downfall by downsizing their homes to tiny homes. A tiny home is considered 210 square feet or less, depending on which website you're looking at. But the reason they call it tiny homes is because typically cities will require you to get permits for any sort of dwelling that is above 12 feet by 10 feet, which is 210 or 120 square feet. Some people also get past that by building a second story because it's only taking up 120 square feet, when really it's 240 square feet when you can put a bedroom on top. But that is neither here nor there. Again, we're going through cultural changes. So in a lot of other countries, there are multi-generational households. That is where you have children, parents, grandparents, and in many cases, great-grandparents. This can be beneficial in not just financially. This can be very beneficial emotionally, socially, is that you find that the older generations love being around children. Grandparents love babysitting their grandchildren. And in many cases, these grandparents and great-grandparents are no longer in the workforce, so they get a lot of socialization from the children. They also get to teach them their morals, their culture, their history. And they get to take what they like from that history, and then they get to teach it to the little youngin', which is really cute and really great. So it is very beneficial for multi-generational households. For people who don't have families, I have always recommended what I call the golden girls, just golden girling it. Meaning, women typically live longer than men. So the husband will typically die, and then the woman is left alone. Now, this happens to a lot of women out there. I think it's a huge majority of the women. And I always say you should golden girls it, get a big house, 4 or 5 bedrooms, get all you ladies in there. You can cut down on your cars. You would only need 1 or 2 cars for the household if you have 5 people. If one gets sick, the other 4 can take shifts and help take care of her until she's back on her feet. You can spread out the household chores. One will mow the lawn, one will do the gardening, one will do the cooking, one will do the dusting, one will do the vacuuming, things along those lines. And then you can switch it up however you see fit. But I think that because It's hard to describe, but you can all feel it. You know that the jobs are going away. We've got autonomy, AI coming into play. We are a consumer society. We are not a manufacturing or production-based society. A lot of our larger corporations are moving overseas for lower cost manufacturing, or even the ability to manufacture, because we no longer have that type of ability. So jobs are going away. The jobs that we are keeping are much, much, much lower pay in comparison to previous generations. As you know, in previous generations, it would typically be the man would go to work, the woman would stay at home and do the child care and the cooking and the cleaning. And maybe she would be in charge of the budget or grocery shopping, things along, pretty much all of the household stuff was left to the female and all of the working stuff was left to the men. Well, once women started joining the workforce, prices started to skyrocket quite a bit. And that is not due to any sort of feminist movement. I think it just has a whole lot to do with politics. And it seems to, since before I was born in 81, but before I was born, it started to sort of do a spiral into the cost of housing becoming just difficult. And plus, we are a huge consumer society. We have so many things these days that they did not have in the 1950s and 60s. Internet, cable TV, I mean, you name it, commuting. Most people didn't even commute beyond the town that they lived in. Now we're doing 100-mile commutes in each direction. It's just crazy. Our culture has changed. And it's unfortunate that our paychecks have not kept up with these changes that have happened in society. So whereas, I don't know, when I was 18, I was making $18 an hour working in a food distribution warehouse. At the age of 28, I was making, I believe it was, there was a bonus at the end of every month, and it sort of averaged out to $30 per hour. Now, even at my previous job, I didn't make more than $20 an hour. So going from $30 an hour down to $20 an hour 10 years later, you can see that there's something not quite right. Somebody who has the same skills, it's the same type of job, it is in the same industry, and you're making 1/3 less than you were 10 years ago. This is something we're gonna see a lot right now too. A lot of people have recently lost their jobs with the whole COVID thing going on. When you do end up going back to work, it's very, very likely that you're gonna be making a significant amount less than you were pre-word I can't say on YouTube. But, it's going to be a lot less. And this is not helpful considering that the cost of housing is going up. A lot of people, the moratoriums have ended. People are going to be evicted. They're going to be unable to get into new apartments due to the eviction. They're going to be unable to get housing due to the eviction. People whose moratorium or whatever has ended on their mortgage payments, where they can put their payment at the end of the mortgage, that's going to end soon. And those people still do not have any jobs, and not to mention unemployment ending. So what's going to happen to those people in the houses? They're going to have to probably move back in with their parents. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. In fact, I think it's a good thing. I think that we should get back to multi-generational households as opposed to having just more small houses. Why would you want 10 500 square feet houses when you can have 2 that are 2,500 square feet, but you can keep so many families in that one household, and you can keep them happy. A lot of socialization, lots of love, lots of games to play. You get to split the bills, gas, water, sewage, electricity, cable if you want it, internet, all those things can be divided between 8, 9, 10 people depending on how many rooms you have and what your situation is. So that really, really reduces the cost. When it comes to tiny homes, well, I don't want to say that we're running out of land, but if you do consider getting some sort of off-grid type thing going with a small, tiny house, don't forget, you still have to have a job in order to bring in an income. Your income is going to be a lot less, but think of how far your commute time is going to be to your job. So that might not necessarily be the best solution for everyone. But from what's going on right now, you know, a third of people age 40 or under, and over half of people age 30 or under. You know, it used to be you got booted out when you were 18, and I still hear some of my friends who have children who are in the 18-year range, and they're saying, as soon as they're 18, I'm kicking them out. I'm like, they're gonna be homeless. They're gonna have nowhere to go. You better be ready to have these children until they're age 28 to 35, because that's the way that our country is going right now. The jobs aren't available, and the ones that are available are just paying 12 bucks, 10, 12 bucks an hour, and it's not gonna work for the most of Americans. So I would go ahead and say, consider the Golden Girls theory that I have, consider multi-generational living, and I think that we need to get away from people feeling as if they are less if they end up living with their parents or in a multi-generational household. You're not less. You know, again, there's always this weird cultural thing going on, like you're less of a person if you do this, you're less of a person if you don't work a 9-to-5 job, as if suffering financially, emotionally, and physically, as if suffering somehow makes you a better human being. I can guarantee you that it doesn't. So live your best life. And, you know, move in with your parents if you have to, or if you've got a couple of families that are friends. Do what you have to do, and don't be ashamed of it. Do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.